Welcome to an extra special episode of the Ignite podcast. On the intro, it says, welcome, Sam and Phil. Actually, it's not Sam and Phil today. I've got a guest sat next to me that I know extremely well, a guest that I actually live with. The reason why I wanted to invite my wife, Molly, on here is to try and give me and you guys listening a different perspective on maybe what we do every day and how that may or may not impact at home. So I'm aware that some of you listening will may not have partners or may not have kids, or so our situation is that we have 3 young kids, which obviously adds different challenges into the mix. But we're going to try and I've got a few questions for Molly. I'm going to try and ask questions that will hopefully give some insight into how she feels about situations. And by the way, these are questions that we probably haven't spoken about in the past, so I'm not sure what's going to come out of it. But the key thing, I think the key point I'd like to get you to think about is that we all say that we do this business and entrepreneurship and etc. for our families, or I think most of us should feel like that. But at what cost? Are we actually doing it for our families, or is it easy to say that? And do we think it's the right thing to say that? Many people that we've worked with and we know have ended up getting divorced because of work, and is that worth it? Some people it might be. I'm not just saying this because she sat next to me, but to me it definitely wouldn't be worth it. So that's what we're going to try and uncover, and hopefully we will still go to our afternoon tea straight after this, which we have booked. So welcome my wife, Molly Jones.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't have to say Jones. It's obviously Jones, wasn't it?
If I'm your wife, then yes.
You are. Molly, first question. I've got a different first question, but okay. How do you feel about doing this podcast? That's the first question.
It feels very different than I'm used to. I'm not used to talking into a microphone like
You don't have to look at the mic when you talk into it.
Sorry. Yeah, it feels a bit different. I feel a bit on the spot, not really sure what to expect for you to ask me. But
okay. Well, just be as honest as you should be.
Okay.
You don't have to be too honest.
Okay.
Depending on what that subject is.
I'll be nice about you.
You can be nice. You don't have to be totally nice. I'm sure you've got an agenda that just to get it out there, Molly will have an agenda on this podcast that she wants me home earlier. So take those answers with a pinch of salt. Question 1 for you, Mol. How does it feel being married to an estate agent?
I don't think it particularly feels any different than being married to anybody in any kind of work. Every family has people that work, for example, I'm the, what's it called, main caregiver of the kids. And so I'm assuming most couples and families, they have a main caregiver and somebody that goes to work all the time, like full time rather. But the person that's a main caregiver, they often work as well. And basically what I'm trying to say is that people work in families, and I don't think it feels massively different. The big difference for me is that you own your own business.
It was a bit tongue in cheek, really, because a lot of the public dislike estate agents. So when someone says, "What does your husband do?" What do you say?
He owns an estate agency.
Right,
and several property businesses. Actually, I say that
Thank you.
A bit as well. Thank you for a bit more.
And have you? Would you ever say he's an estate agent, or have you ever said that?
I think so. Yeah.
And what's the response back?
A little bit of like an apprehension, I would say, but I never realised. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit naive. I never realised that there was a bit of a negative stigma. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Around estate agencies, and I don't really understand it, to be honest, because maybe it's because I've always known my mum so my mum's Sam, those of you that don't know.
They will know.
Just in case, those of you that are new here. my mum is Sam, and so she's always worked with homes, and so I've always kind of been around and hearing conversations of people struggling to sell their houses and how it really impacts them. And I've also moved a lot. I think, what house is this for us now? My 25th house, something like that. So I know the struggles as well of, moving and selling and buying and all the rest of it. So I kind of understand that it's a difficult job and a job that is definitely very needed, I would say.
I agree. So let's go back. How old are you? You're 30 this year. Jeez.
I'm 29 now.
Let's go back
Still in my
20
20s.
odd years ago
Mhm.
when your mum was a single mum of 3. She never mentions it, so we'll throw it out there. Single mum of 3. She had home truths,
Yep.
and what was it like? How often did you see her? What was it like when she was owning her own business? How did that feel?
That's kind of a difficult question because I felt very, very important to her, as in I felt like she was working really, really hard, like really hard for us. Like I felt like she was just working all the hours under the sun. She was just really, really pushing herself, but I felt like she was doing it for us. She wasn't doing it because work was more important than us or anything. So I definitely remember her, like school holidays and stuff. She would be working, we'd kind of have to entertain ourselves, or we'd go and stay with my dad. My mum and dad split up when I was 6, and so we'd go and stay with him for a bit. And he would have to work too sometimes, so I was definitely around a lot of hardworking people, I would say.
Did you understand the reason why? Because she always talks about the sacrifices of missing certain things, and how Tess used to emotionally blackmail her on it.
I never really felt like she missed anything. The biggest times I remember her not being there are times when I'd get home from school and I'd have to make my own tea. It's not like as
I don't even do that,
it's not as like child labour as it sounds right now, but I must have been 11, 12, 13 plus, something like that, and I'd make like breaded fish from the freezer and some potatoes and veg, but she would teach us how to make food and we would then be able to do it. I remember her working a lot. She would work a lot, but I also didn't feel like I was left alone and abandoned and ignored. I definitely felt very important still.
Good. And then fast forward, how long is it? 20 odd years. What's it like having me and your mum work together?
This has a bit of, what's the word? It's kind of got two sides to it, basically. So whenever mum comes round to visit me and the kids, and I'm looking forward to seeing her and like updating her on my life or whatever's been happening that day, and looking forward to her being able to spend some time with the kids, quite often mum and Phil end up in a big conversation about, right, what we're doing in this house, these buyers need this or this seller needs this, and like talking about work. And I think I did actually give you both a bit of a talking to, and I said, right, no more work talk when you're with us, and you both were saying to me,
do we still do this?
Not as much.
Yeah.
Because at that time, you both said, well, we need to. Like, it's work, it's just life. We need to be able to talk about it. But then actually thinking about it, you don't do it very often anymore, do you?
No, and the answer to that is probably we don't need to now.
Don't need to?
No.
How come?
Just because the business has developed where your mum isn't really involved in AJ at all, the day-to-day running. And therefore she wouldn't know any of the houses or clients or challenges. Did you? So I remember the conversations. Did you? Because there's a transaction here, isn't there? That in my view, you've got an amazing car, we've got a nice house, we're buying a new house, we've got amazing holidays. Yeah. So my presumption is that is maybe worth the negatives of the when your mum comes round. I mean, she still does it. She calls you and asks to speak to me.
Yeah, she does that a lot.
Yeah, when she comes round and we just talk work, and there are lots of other sacrifices. Is it worth it?
I would say, yeah, it is. The amount of negativity there is and the amount of positivity there is, the positives massively outweigh the negatives. And I think that both you and Mum are quite good at compartmentalizing. Well, maybe not you so much mentally. You struggle mentally, I think. But
Struggle mentally?
mentally.
Don't clip that.
As in, to step away from work, I can see it lingers on you for a while after you get home.
Has a sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice. We're a team, aren't we? And you do have to sacrifice things. Has that always been worth it?
I mean, obviously there are really, really hard days, but then it also flips, because if I'm having a really awful day and I don't feel well or something, and the kids are all acting up, I can just message you and just say, look, I need you home. And most of the time you can leave. I mean, this isn't like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is like 5 o'clock, but
twice a week.
But then you also have as much time off for holidays and that kind of family time. And to be honest, with school timings and everything, I'm not really home that much.
Yeah,
during school time. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
the kids, we get home from school 4:30, 5:30, somewhere around there, and then Phil's home at 6, and so it's just then school holidays that are like a lot. I feel like I have a lot to do by myself, but again, that's the case with any working dad, isn't it?
I was more thinking sort of the first couple of years where maybe you weren't getting the holidays, the car, the house.
Yeah, but I also didn't
the Disney presents.
I didn't. No, because I didn't expect those then. And well, I mean, not like I expect it now, like I'm waiting for my next Disney holiday.
You only mention it 1,000 times a week.
I like my Disney holidays, okay? So just for that, it's definitely worth it. But yeah, going back to the beginning, we didn't holiday that much then, so I kind of didn't realise that what I was missing. And you'd gone from working as like a meter operative is the word, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
If you want.
You'd gone from doing that and being home earlier, so it was the more working hours.
I used to be home at like 2, didn't I, every day?
Yeah, that was nice.
Go to work at 9, be home at 2.
Yeah.
Turn my van on at like 4:30 just so it popped up on their machine that I was still working.
I remember you doing that. You had to nip back out. Oh, I need to turn the van on.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. I've lost my train of thought. Oh, and the mental toll it takes on you, that it's hard and stressful, and you let a lot of it get to you, I think.
I do live it, and then therefore you have to live it.
Yeah, but I think we've kind of got a flow now that I know what you need when you come in, if you need just a bit of time to like go upstairs and lie down for a minute. And I need to just let you have that time, otherwise it'll be worse for us both if I'm forced you to sit down and you're stressed and then you've got low patience for the kids and stuff.
Yeah,
it's definitely
painting a bad picture, but you're absolutely right. I think I don't know whether this is just a male trait. When I leave work, no matter how bad it is, I then don't want to relive it by talking you through it.
Mm-hmm. So my sister, obviously Mum is also Sam Ashdown, she will sometimes say to me, oh, have you heard what they're doing with the business? And I'm like, no, because Phil doesn't tell me pretty much anything, do you? But I mean,
question for you: what is Cosmo?
I don't know. I've heard the word Cosmo. I don't know what it is. I think, is it like mastermind?
It's well, now you ask. Thank you. It is everything an agent needs in their business for a ridiculously low price.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat that?
No. But everyone listening should definitely be a Cosmo member, shouldn't they?
Oh yeah.
Correct answer.
The amount you work for them, like, you should charge double.
I didn't dare to say that, by the way. What's the worst thing about being married to a business owner / entrepreneur?
Again, it's just how you bring it home, and it's on your mind all the time. Like, you'll be taking calls in the airport, doing some like emails on a Sunday night, or whereas most working dads, husbands, they leave work and they leave the work at work mentally. And for you to physically be doing it and taking time out on like going on viewings or whatever it is on a Saturday morning that you have to do sometimes, or taking calls and emails. But yeah, mentally, just if you've had a really hard week and not had the sales you want or whatever it is, and then you get to the weekend and you really need that downtime, or you're still feeling a bit stressed and it just takes you the weekend, then they're the hardest parts, when like I feel like I have to kind of pick up the slack almost, that like I've got to pick you up as well as the kids. But again, that's marriage, I guess.
And what impact does that have on you? I was gonna say, and also our marriage, but I'm not sure. That's quite deep. When I do, I mean, I don't have to do it as much anymore, do I? But when I remember, I used to have, when we were going on holiday somewhere, and we were sat in Manchester Airport, and I was on a different table doing calls.
Yeah, stuff like that, isn't it?
What impact does that have?
I think I've just kind of got used to it, and in the way that I just think it's got to be worth it. Like, and it is. You're sat at the other table doing calls and emails, and that's how we are going to Abu Dhabi or wherever we're going. You know, all these holidays and trips and nice house and nice car. That's just the price that you pay. That's a difference in maybe what other people have that we have extra.
Do you ever think about what if it all goes wrong, or have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I have. But I also have faith in you that you could just make it work, and you would never ever let us like go bankrupt, go into poverty, whatever it is. We would always make it work. And I've said this to you multiple times, haven't I, that I quite like the idea of like just a little cottage, 2-bedroom cottage. We'd shove all the kids in one room, we'd be in the other. We'd light the fire and just spend our days just cozied up at home, and we don't need to have a lot with it, as long as like we've
So all those
got
holidays you demand, you don't actually want them?
Yes, if the stress of your work, that's my price.
That's your prize.
That's my prize. That's my salary. That's what I get in return.
we do have sort of an unwritten rule that I can work as hard as I need to, but then every 6 to 8 weeks we have a trip. We go away either for a week to the US or 2 weeks. Or
well, that's where my mum is so amazing, that she'll look after the children for a week or so. Well, 5 days a week, and then me and Phil can have. I mean, you can have that time to go away to Disney, Tenerife. We're going to Abu Dhabi in 3 weeks, and it's so important. And I think
it is,
especially when you've had like a bad run of the kids being absolute nightmares.
My kids are not nightmares.
They are, especially your youngest. When you get a bad run of that, then you need to just remind each other that you do actually like each other. You love each other. You want to spend time together.
I never need reminding.
Sometimes I do. No, it's not as deep as that.
But it is tough though, isn't it?
It
is.
And you need to remind yourselves that a couple before kids.
For everything.
Yeah. And it needs to be a priority, like top priority, maybe.
Yeah, and as I said at the start of the podcast, we, as in me and your mum, always talk about how the things we do and the things we put ourselves through and etc. is for, well, I say it's for you and the kids. She said it's for her whole family. I'm not that. I'm a bit more narrow focused on who it's for. But then you can easily forget about that and get so caught up in what you're doing that you actually forget about.
Definitely.
What's the point? And then ultimately, if it came to it, you've got to recognize when you're overstepping the mark.
But I think that's where communication is so important. And I know, like, not that I would ever ask you to, but I know because of how you communicate to me, that if I ever said to you, you need to stop, you need to take like 2 days off a week extra, or you need to quit the business or whatever it is I asked you to do, I know you would do it for us. So I think that's, you just need to communicate. And as long as your partner knows that that's how that's what you're doing it for, then in your partner's eyes, then I think.
Yeah, I think hopefully what's coming across in this podcast is that many masterminders and people that we've trained before have said to me that for some reason I give off a perception that things don't touch me or things don't bother me. So I remember, things like door knocking, and I remember a lady when we're talking about door knocking saying, "Yeah, it's all right for you though. It doesn't bother you." And
but it's easy to have that perception of somebody.
yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to give off that that perception of how it is, because actually the complete opposite is true. I live everything, and therefore you do, and also therefore sometimes the kids do, which is definitely not what I want to do. But it's very difficult, I find, when you've had a nightmare day at work to go, right, that's work, and then you go home and your kids are screaming, and just to turn it, I struggle with that.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be difficult.
No, I think it would be for anybody in this position. Everybody, like, if listeners have their own businesses and they go home, they'll have the same feelings, I'm sure. It's not very easy to compartmentalize and just let it go at the end of the day.
I also believe that me and your mum, we think in the same way, but quite different personalities. And therefore that gives us different skill sets in business. So whereas if somebody's doing, I'll do it. Your mum might take a few days to do it, and she'll probably produce a much better result than me, but I'd have done it 2 days ago. And I think the carrying of the stress and the living it gives you a bit more urgency with things. I mean, talking about urgency, do I do anything slowly?
No. Oh, and it drives me mad. We'll go to Disney and you'll be like straight on to the next thing, or we'll be in the airport and you're straight to the gate or whatever it is. You rush everything.
Yeah, everywhere and everything, and I still believe, and I might be totally wrong here, but I believe that is a trait of why we've had such success.
Yeah,
because it's sort of like a competitiveness.
You don't
I've got to be first off the plane. I've got to be. I remember when I took my friends to Vegas and we landed, and I was off. And they were like, "Why are you running?" I'm not running. If we're behind that family over there, they're going to take 10 minutes to get the suitcase. That's then, it all adds up, doesn't it? Accumulatively, and then we could be at the hotel. We could be having a beer whilst we're queued behind this family.
But even when you're at the hotel having a beer, you're still thinking, "We need to go back to the room because we need to get changed because we need to go to tea because you're always on to the next thing." So yes, it is a trait of success, but it's also a little bit of a downfall for you because you never relax in the moment, content in the moment.
Yeah. No, and maybe I'm tricking myself. Maybe it's not a trait, a good trait. Maybe I need to.
I think if you were a lot more relaxed and casual and slow with things, then you wouldn't push yourself, I don't think, as much as you do.
No. Talking about next question. You, and don't break any confidence here, but you went out with some mums from school on Saturday night. What were they saying about their partners and how work can impact lives without breaking any confidence?
They all seem to struggle in the same ways as I do, as in struggle when their husbands are away. However, their husbands seem to work away more than Phil does, more than you do, because I think your priority is to stay at home and you will be away as little as possible. Whereas other husbands that maybe don't have that privilege of being able to choose, they're away a lot more. And so it really does impact, which, is totally understandable, impacts people when their partner's not around full time. But like I said before, communication is just so, like, you need to have that connection still to be able to understand why they're doing it, and you're on the same team, you're not against each other. They're not the enemy. You need to work together. It
is a team, isn't it? A marriage is a team.
You got to know that the negatives in life are the enemy, not each other. Like, you fell in love and got married for a reason. Just
Yeah.
remember those
People
things.
forget that, don't they?
Yeah.
It's easy to forget in the midst of business, children,
Yeah. When you're getting everything else
stress.
mixed in there.
But ultimately, I mean, my priorities I'm extremely clear on. But sometimes you still need reminding, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that's just normal life though, isn't it? That sometimes things lag a little bit and you need to push to make time for the other person or whatever it might be that you're lagging on.
What are your feelings towards Ashdown Jones, which is my and Sam's agency?
Very grateful for it. If it's buying me Disney trips.
Are you proud of it, or
Yeah, definitely. When I look
or
around,
is that sort of worn off now?
no. When I'm driving around and seeing the other signs of agencies, and I'm like, huh, AJ is so much better signs than you, or whatever it is, and like, I don't know if Phil's mentioned that we're selling our house, and so
There's a podcast on a couple of weeks ago about the selling of it,
okay.
and my inside thoughts.
Yeah. Well, we got
And my stresses from my wife going, is it sold yet? I thought you were a estate agent. Why haven't you sold it?
Okay,
what
I
are you
said that
doing?
once as a joke. That was not serious. We got a letter through. I think you opened it actually. I just saw it on the side this morning. From an agency that's local.
You can say it. Hunters, wasn't it?
Hunters, yeah. Saying
it's a national franchise.
Oh, okay. Saying saw that you've lowered the price, and that's usually to do with your agency failing or something. And I thought, oh, that's a bit cheeky.
Yeah, nearly picked up the phone.
Yeah, I thought, but it is a bit cheeky, like, because they obviously didn't know that you owned AJ, but they also don't know what anybody else's situation is with their agent and how it could be family, or they might really, really value the agent and think that they're doing an amazing job, but need to move just a bit quicker. And it's not always the agency's fault with that. The agency can work as hard as they can, but
yeah. So just for if you haven't listened to that podcast, for clarification, we had a house on the market at 500,000, and we were getting a little bit of pressure from our onward, and therefore we changed the strategy to offers over 475, and achieved offers over 475. So it didn't really ultimately matter that it was a reduction, but on their database it will come up as a reduction. And then we got a letter from them actually about 2 weeks after it went SSTC, saying your agent's failed. Sometimes when you drop a price, it's the wrong thing to do. Now, just to totally hijack this podcast, when the reason why I hate these letters, and that was interesting insight from your side, is that when you've dropped your price, your ego is bruised.
Yeah.
You feel like you've given money away.
Yeah. So I guess in that way, then saying there's usually the fault of your agent, I guess it's kind of taking the fault off the owner of the house, thinking, okay, maybe it's not my house, and maybe it is the agent.
Yeah, but the letter said that you've made a mistake.
Did it? I didn't read that bit.
That you may have made a mistake.
Right.
Or that was the premise of it.
Okay, with choosing that agent.
No, with reducing your price.
Right. Okay.
I've done it now.
Yeah.
It just
can't go back.
it just promotes, I think, negative feeling towards that message
and the whole situation.
And if I've just reduced my price, I'm then not gonna call up another agent. I've just reduced my price.
Yeah.
I've
already made that
wrong timing,
step.
wrong trigger, wrong everything. Anyway, back to this. So, what's one thing about me and or your mum that the listeners might not know? I think I stole a good one before about do live it, all the emotions.
Oh, massively! You massively do, and I can see it on your body when you walk in the door, and and then I can see it gradually come down, and then we sit down for tea, and you're like, oh.
It doesn't happen as often now, does it?
No, but I think it also, when you get so stressed for so long with work, like in between holidays, that usually when we get to a holiday, you're ill. Or get to Christmas and you're ill because your body has been stressed so much. And those of you that don't know, I don't know what you've said about this, Phil, that you really put a lot of pressure on yourself on your health as well, like food and exercise. So he runs and or gyms every day.
Thank you for
So,
confirming this, because we talk about this.
oh my gosh, it's like the bane of my life. It's like worse than work. It's worse than work. Because he'll wake up and have a little bit of breakfast, no lunch, and then a normal tea. And then he's more stressed because you're not having enough calories. And then you're doing time in the gym when I've got to make tea and wrestle all the kids to bed. Like, that's the hard part. All this gym and run stuff.
I think you're trying to say it's an absolute dream to live with me. I think I'm getting that somewhere in between everything you're saying.
You are amazing in lots and lots and lots of ways, but that is a difficult part. I still remember when I'd literally just had Caspian, and so he's 2.5 now, and the midwife came round when he was about a week old and said, "Oh, where's your husband?" And I said, "Oh, he's out trying to get his 10,000 steps." And I was there crying to her about how tired I was, and the kids were in the other room causing havoc. And she was like, "Maybe you should just say to him, can you stop doing 10,000 steps a day?" And I was like, "Okay."
I feel awful now.
Sorry.
But did I get them?
I told you that night, and then you stopped straight away. See, communication.
See, there you go. But did I get them that day?
You did.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Because if it had I not got them, had I not got the 10,000 steps, and you were mad at me, that would have been the worst of both worlds.
It would have been, yeah. Got to be worth it, hasn't it?
What did Disney do that we or the industry should learn from?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Now, there isn't anything you don't know about Disney, so
something that Disney does that you guys could implement.
Yeah, that we could take, or the industry could take, as either a principle or an actual.
I mean, something that I do love is, well, two things really.
Castle.
Yes, you could add a castle into your office, please, with some turrets. No, the cast members, so the staff at Disney, are always really, really happy and smiley and friendly and warm. And I mean, not that your staff aren't; they have been anytime I've spoken to them. But I love that any communication with a cast member is just happy and positive because of how they're talking to you. And also, the second thing I love that I don't know if you could implement maybe is they do something called pixie dust at Disney, any Disney park really, I think, where they randomly, any cast member has the privilege, a power, to pixie dust, so gift pretty much anything. So I've heard of people getting free meals, snacks. We've had pixie dust before, haven't we, when we asked a cast member about a certain character we were going to see and we weren't going to be able to see them, and so she took us right to the very front of the queue of this ride that had a 50-minute wait or something at the time. And so she took our whole party there, didn't she? And it was like 10 of us, maybe even more.
Was it not just us 5?
No, it was when we were with Liam and Tess and the kids and mum and everyone. And she took us all the way to the front of the queue because she had the power to be able to just say, like, you know, she's just a normal cast member around the park, and she could say, "Yeah, I'm going to give you this for free."
Takes the hierarchy out, doesn't
it? It makes you feel special and privileged and like picked out of a crowd. I don't know. I just really, really like those ideas. I'm not sure how that could be implemented into work, but
and again, I think we did a podcast on this last week actually. Because that, from a front end point of view, that's how you feel and that's what you remember. From a business psychology point of view, is what I'm trying to untangle. And it's not, you don't remember anything that the staff members say to you, but you remember how they made you feel.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the important thing. So, and by that, you need to put in training on principles. On we did this morning in the team of how you answer certain questions. The tonality of your voice, if somebody asks something, you don't say no. You find a way of either answering it nicely or you find a way to sort it. There's a culture there you can feel, and no matter how big Disney is, you feel like you have a personal connection to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's because of those training. I was listening to it's where this podcast came off last week. Isaac did a podcast. Isaac is a member of the Fray, and he was saying about how his management, how the 4 of them and the management from day one always said, every decision we make, we need to make the fans feel like we are their band.
Yeah.
So that was their principle.
Like
do we, no matter how big we get, we sell out stadiums. How do we get them to feel like when they're buying tickets, when they're buying merchandise, when the interaction, how do we make them feel like we are their band? It's the same thing in Disney. How did Disney make us feel like that's our place to go?
Yeah.
When it's so big, so ridiculously expensive.
And so many people go, but we still feel special.
Yeah. So on a smaller scale, how do we, Ashdown Jones, make our sellers feel like we're their agency and we're like their little secret, and they can then go and recommend us? And that's what we were talking about this morning. It's certain things like knowing when someone rings up and they're our first ever seller, celebrating them and saying, "Oh, thank you so much. You started this. Without you, we wouldn't be here." Things like that. And then you can be as bad as you want as a company. Like Disney have got loads of flaws, but you forget about it because you remember how you felt.
Yeah, you do. You remember how you feel, not even necessarily what they say or.
Yeah. And I like the idea of pixie dust. Well, I sort of like it because
I don't know how you could quite implement that.
It'll cost me money, so.
Well, yeah, it's
not very good at spending money, am I?
Like, do you give like Kendall Mint Cake or something out with the keys when someone picks up the keys?
We give a box, but every brochure that goes out, we put in the envelope like Kendall Mint Cake and a handwritten note. And the team do have the authority to. Like if one of their clients is ill, or they can send them stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure how often that happens. So, but it's a good thing to plug back in. Last question for you before we go and have our afternoon tea. What do you think of Rightmove?
I don't know much about it. It seems to absolutely monopolize. Like I'd never gone.
Good word.
Thank you. I was a bit patronising. Like I'd never go on Zoopla. I don't even know any others because they just don't seem to be as easy to use. But I don't know if that's just because I've only ever used Rightmove. Though I think from what you've told me, it's quite expensive for an agent to use it, isn't it?
What would get you to use any other platform?
When I'm searching for a house?
Yeah.
If I cannot find what I want on Rightmove.
But you can.
But there'd be no reason. Though I guess I know of houses that you've sold that the owners don't want you to put them online, don't want them on Rightmove. So I guess now I know that I can call an agency and just say, do you have anything that they don't want online? But I mean, most houses do, don't they? Because it's one of the only ways you can really sell it.
The reason I ask is the industry generally hates Rightmove, but the public love it.
Yeah.
So
why do you hate it?
I don't. I think it's quite good return on investment, but I am in the huge minority there. Okay. Because every year they put prices up by like 15%. But when you're an agency with quite a large turnover, that makes the entry level agency harder because so it reduces competition. So
that's annoying.
I can understand why smaller turnover agents or businesses don't like it. Or even it's not, they're not a very ethical company, so so they'll increase costs to agents by, I think it was 15% this year. Well, what's the argument for it?
Yeah, not necessarily.
And then it'll be 15% next year, and it'll be 15% next year. And how do you get out of it? Because if you take all your homes off Rightmove,
it's an essential. You can't do anything without it, can you?
So
have you ever spoken to them and complained about it, or?
Oh, they don't listen at all. I let everyone else complain about it, but they do not listen. They'll say, well, you can leave if you like.
That's so annoying.
Yeah.
Because you can't leave, can you? Unless everybody leaves. Why don't you make your own Rightmove and get all of the agencies
People have tried. Loads of people have tried. But the challenge is that the consumer's attention is where it goes. So I can make the world's best platform called Leftmove, but unless you're going on it, it's pointless. Because as an agency, I would never go on Leftmove. I would never come off Rightmove because that's where your attention is.
What about Zoopla? Is that good or?
It's just, in my opinion, it's a waste of money because Rightmove is where the 99% of the attention is.
How much cheaper is it? Is it a lot cheaper than Rightmove?
Yeah, a lot cheaper. I think it's a few £100 a month, something like that.
Right, okay. Are you on Zoopla?
No.
Not necessary?
No. Rightmove is where it's at.
Okay.
Last question. What's one thing that I or the listener can do to improve your experience of being married to or being a part of entrepreneur's life?
What can you do
Yeah,
to help
to
me
help enhance your experience.
as a wife? Communication, like I've said, um, and just still being made to feel like a priority. But I guess it's hard, easier said than done when you've used a lot of your battery and power for the day on work to just try and reserve a little bit for me.
Noted. I will try.
And take me to Disney World.
It's already booked, Molly.
Yes, 7 months away.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Did you
Thanks for
enjoy
having
it?
me. Yeah, it was easier than I thought it was going to be. I was a bit apprehensive at first.
We
But
tried to keep the questions easy. Next time, they're a lot harder.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I'll brush up on my facts.